Hey there, nomads of lore,
maestros of mirth and mythology.
I'm Shawn.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we are Mead and Mischief, your home away from no home.
That's right.
Today we are going to be talking about our top 3 likes from Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. We both really love the film, and it's hard to pare this list down.
Definitely.
But I did it more or less. I've got, I think, about 10 things on my list, but we're going to talk about 3 of those things. So let's dive right in. Oh, okay. By the way, I should mention absolutely before we dive in that this is absolutely a spoiler-filled, not spoiler-free, but
if you have not watched the film, go watch it and then come back and watch this video.
Absolutely, because we're not holding anything back. We're going to talk about our bestest thingies.
And if you haven't watched the film and you haven't watched any other films in Star Wars, or if you've only watched a few, you should go and watch everything and then watch this film.
Do it. Buy Disney Plus.
That's right.
It's worth it anyway. Mandalorian's great. And you get to watch Darkwing Duck. You know, who can beat that? But get Disney Plus. Go watch that. Netflix for the ones that are not on there. Go watch it. It's worth doing. Okay, so jump into spoiler filled. If you haven't seen it, click off now. My number 3 thing. Okay. My number 3, well, I won't spoil on my list, but my number 3 is a bit of a sappy thing, and it's a bit of a cheat, but it's 2 things that had to do with Chewbacca, with our beloved Chewie, and number 2. These 2 are not in order, but was Chewie's scene when he and Poe and Finn find out that Leia had died. It was super impactful scene. I teared up a bit in the theaters, just mostly because that scene was everyone's grief on screen for Carrie Fisher's passing, as a big deal, and it's a big deal for me. It's a celebrity death that I definitely felt, which is unusual because I don't usually think much about that, but that was a well shot scene and is a lovely tribute, and Chewie was wonderful. The second thing,
I ever thought that Chewie making some sound on screen would make you almost cry.
I know
it did.
No words. Absolutely, absolutely. It was wonderful. Well, wonderful in a sad, bittersweet way, of course. But the second thing with Chewie, and this is getting into my number 3, cheating here, but was a moment that corrected an oversight from way back in the original trilogy. I love the original trilogy. It's wonderful. Even it wasn't perfect. And a huge oversight way back from A New Hope, the very first Star Wars film, was that Chewie didn't get a medal and everybody else did. And so the scene where Maz goes and brings him the medal at the end was wonderful. It's total fan service, Chewie service, but it was great. Absolutely.
I agree.
So that's my number 3.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Chewbacca.
Cool. So my number 3 is kind of a little broad, but it's just, I loved the idea of the Force dyad between Rey and Kylo Ren, of course. And it just opens up so many different things. The fact that the 2 of them are paired together with they originally touched and then ended up moving things between great distances. Where he grabs the necklace off of her, and then later, of course, the lightsaber and the mask falling to the ground. All the different things that happen with that, and then just their power being bigger together, and the whole healing thing, and all the different things that come from the Force dyad. It kind of had a little bit more impact for me with the idea of who her grandmother was. I was trying to figure out why there is a dyad, I guess, first, and why, is it just because she's from the blood of Palpatine and he's from the blood of the Skywalkers, or what makes them a dyad, and where are we going to see that again? In the future, have we seen it in the past? And yeah, so that's my number 3, the Force Force dyad.
So your number 3 is wrong, and we'll find out more about that in another video, probably. But for the expediency, let's go to a proper number 2.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so my number 2, I've got my number 3 and my number 2 are both mushy moments. Is, I don't know, sap, I guess, but everybody, maybe not everybody, but just about everybody's favorite comic relief is C-3PO.
Your number 2 is wrong.
And my number 2 is wrong. Your face is wrong. Well, C3, we don't necessarily agree on liking C-3PO. I know you get annoyed by him more and don't always like the kind of silly comedy. But I mean, he's at least better than Jar Jar Binks. I mean, we can agree with that much. But I mean, I love C-3PO. I've always loved C-3PO. One of the things that the sequel trilogy does better than the prequel trilogy is bringing C-3PO back as a true comic. I know he's in the prequels, but he's never the comic relief. Not really. Not like he is in the original and in the sequel trilogy. And so C-3PO is a great character. And so my number 2 is C-3PO's heroic moment. It was just a really cool thing. It was a really cool thing that they gave to the character. I mean, C-3PO has always been basically nothing but comic relief. I'm hard pressed to think of any time where he was anything but that. And, you know, kind of a playoff and a translator for R2, honestly. He was comic relief before. The moment when he can't translate the Sith dagger because of programming, which is kind of cool, post-shadowing, not foreshadowing, I don't know, of potential conspiracy that Palpatine had early on. That's different discussion, different fan theory things, which is potentially cool all in its own right. But I really loved that moment where C-3PO had this moment of, I'm basically going to, for a droid, potentially die. I mean, he didn't know if he was going to get his memory back or any of that. And so he decides that in spite of that, you know, the right thing to do. I love that interaction with him and Rey. I wish I had the lines memorized, you know, but really liked that scene with Rey. It was basically her laying it out like, that's what she says. She says something about, you know the odds better than anybody else, you know, is there any other way? And it's like, oh, what great, you've turned my my words against me, because you know, that's usually a comedic moment of, don't tell me the odds, you know, the Solo thing, you know. And so it was a great scene. It was a touching moment for C-3PO and him stepping back and seeing them as friends, and you know, in spite of their annoyance, them seeing him that way, you know, and is really good. I liked it quite a bit.
I definitely agree that was a good scene. I don't know if I agree about C-3PO. Go on. So, number 2 for me was the scene almost all the way at the very end of the movie when Rey. It is the very last scene. Rey takes the 2 lightsabers and she, you know, puts them in kind of a wrap, I guess, and then puts them down into the ground, which is really cool. The kind of putting the Skywalker to rest kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Even though she carries on the Skywalker name, and then her lightsaber that she built for herself, and kind of the cliffhanger, the cliffhanger of that they left you with. It's first of all yellow, and the only other time we've seen that is with the Jedi Guard. So, you know, is that what they were meaning, that she's the last guardian of the Jedi? You know, what is that? Or the other thing is that you can't see the whole saber, and it looks almost like it's the length of maybe a dual saber. So that's a cool thought too, because I think she needs a dual saber because she walks around with a bow staff all the time. So I thought that would be cool. But anyway,
cool.
So that scene is probably my second favorite thing about the whole movie.
Cool. I love the putting the Skywalker and direct. It's a neat scene for sure. So we've got mushy, and then we've got mystery. So, you know, I don't know what that says about either one of us. But so my number 1 thing is not so mushy at all. Cheating a little bit, but it's and I'm not going to talk about everything in it, but is the climax. I decided I had a few things that were in the climax, and I really wanted few things in there, and so I decided to combine a few things. I'm going to talk about a couple of things in particular from the climax that I really, really liked. The first one was that scene where the resistance shows up, and where they're all having a hard time, and it looks like it's gone, and Snap dies, Snap Waxley dies, and it's all terrible. It's all going to heck in a handbasket. I mean, it's
downhill quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Lando shows up with the rest of the galaxy, apparently. Mm-hmm. And I love the line. It's cheesy. Star Wars has a history of cheesy lines. But I love the line, where, it's saying, well, there isn't a Navy. It says, well, this isn't a Navy. These are just people. I love that. It was fun. I love, there's a whole host. I can't wait till that comes out on video so I can pause it and see if I can pick out all these different ships. Yeah. One in particular, the Ghost from the ship, the Ghost from Rebels is in there, and I'm a huge Rebels fan. I just finished watching it recently. Love it. And so that was cool in there. I love that scene. The second thing in the climax that I thought was really cool, super cool, was the gigantic force lightning. An amazing scene. Visually and audio was incredible. If you're questioning whether to see this film in theaters, first of all, why are you still in this video? You've already been spoiled. But absolutely worth watching the movie in theaters. Get your friends to watch it if they're questioning it, because that scene alone makes it worth watching in the theaters. The audio is amazing. So that's my number one, climax.
Awesome. So my number one is the Sith visuals and just the depth of the Sith in this film altogether. They just did a great job with a lot of things. There's starting with this helmet on Kylo. I think it's called Kintsugi. It's just the art of putting something back together that was broken and making beauty in the damage and the brokenness. Really cool. The scene with Palpatine and his Force lightning. You already mentioned that, but it's just amazing. The sound, that it completely dies out. There's no sound, and then it just comes back, and it's super intense moment. Goes up into the sky and starts affecting all the ships, and they start spiraling out of control. It gives you a view of his power that we have never been able to see before, and just shows you how powerful he is in comparison to even the two most powerful people that we know of the time. And he just swats them around like little flies. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, the Sith visuals, the temple, all the things that you see there, the big statues and the, what is the holocron thing called?
The Wayfinder.
Wayfinder, right? Yeah, it's very interesting. And the old Sith guy who ended up killing her parents, the old ship with the weird Mercedes-Benz logo on the front or whatever that was.
Right.
All that stuff was very intriguing to me.
More in film than we've seen ever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Super cool.
So that was my number one. So thank you for watching.
Absolutely.
Our little top 3 of the Rise of Skywalker. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. But please go make a comment regardless, so we can know how you feel about what we're doing. We can know what you would like us to do. Also, give us your top 3 things about the Rise of Skywalker.
Make sure you subscribe, push that button, and make sure you ring that bell so you get notifications.
That's right.
We've got a couple other review videos. We've got one, couple of 3, where we're talking about our dislikes. Make sure you check that one out. Link will be in the description. Make sure we have a super long review. Well, long for YouTube, where we just chat Rise of Skywalker, our take on everything, good, bad, and ugly. It's fun. We had a lot of fun making it. Check that one out. If you need to send your friends to a spoiler-free video, we've got that as well. Links to all those will be down in the description. Thank you. Y'all have a great time.
Peace out. Have a great time exploring. Galaxy.